Hello, and welcome to another episode of BUNK. First off, I just want to let everybody know that we do have a Patreon. If you'd like all things BUNK ad free, please check that out. We do have a $10 and $20 tier for our weekly episodes of Sunday Fun Day, which is every single Sunday. So please go check that out. Today we do have Miss M, Miss Skadi, and we have Barb again here to talk about her recovery, and I'm so excited to get into this episode.
Thank you so much, Jess. Thanks again, Mom, for being here to
Hmm.
continue your beautiful story into sobriety. I have a question for you.
All right.
Today, 5 years sober. Now, are you going to be 5 years sober this December or
Yes.
okay? Wow, you're coming up right on it. That's incredible.
No fronts, baby. No fronts. So just a little over 4 years, 4.5.
So, being 4.5, almost 5 years sober, do you feel like you still struggle today being sober?
Mm. Boy, that's a great question. Um, well, I am given a daily reprieve of those thoughts, desires, drives, cravings, all of that. I am given a daily reprieve on that based on my fit spiritual condition. Now, I have gone through um, just recently, like within the last year and a half, a really heartbreaking breakup, and and I had to do this sober, and so it was really my first. Wasn't my It's my first breakup since recovery, um, or since being in recovery, and where I had to actually feel the feelings and thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous because I do have the tools to be able to go through those things, but that doesn't mean that I didn't think about it. You know, I fantasized about if I was going to do it, what that drink would look like. And, but I'll tell you what kept me sober was the fact that I sponsor ladies and I'm in a program with ladies who need to know that they can walk through something like this gracefully and not have to drink through it. So, whether or not I did it for me, um, well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't do it for me. I did it for those gals so that they know that they could walk through it gracefully. And I guess in return, I got to walk through it uh, graciously, and I got to remain sober. So I don't think about it on a daily basis. Most of the time, what I think about is, holy shit, I can't believe I didn't want to have a drink, or holy shit, I can't believe we just did that and I didn't want to have a drink. And so when anything about alcohol pops into my mind, it's holy shit, I can't believe that I don't want to have a drink. I can also say that sometimes when I'm in a restaurant, if I see somebody drinking a glass of wine, I can taste the vinegar taste at the back of my throat. Um, so so I'm not perfect. I just try to work an honest program and continue to remain humble and honest and but one of the promises in the big book tells us that we can be around it and not be in fear of it. And that really is true. You know, I go to the store every day and if I wanted to drink, well, I don't go to the store every day, all right? But I mean, I can go to the store whenever I want. If I wanted to drink, could easily pick something up. My mom and dad were so gracious. I stayed there last week to help them unpack into their new house, and they had taken out all the alcohol out of their house and hid it. And I was all like, I don't know, why did you don't have to do that. You know, I don't look, if I wanted to drink, I'd just go to the store and buy what I wanted. I did so much appreciate um, their consideration in regards to that, but I don't fear it. And but that's because I have tools. And if it wasn't for those tools, um, the obsession of the mind would not leave, and I would continually be thinking about where am I going to get my next drink. And so I'm so grateful to God that I have been relieved of that.
Right. So, what do you think would happen if you gave in and just had one drink?
There's no such thing for me.
Mm,
See, it's cute, Emily. You're clearly not an alcoholic because an alcoholic would know that that's not, there's no such thing as just one drink because at that point, if I could just have one drink, I wouldn't be an
Miss
alcoholic,
Barb,
right?
may I add to that? And
And
M, if that's okay, just
yes,
speaking from experience. I think that was beautifully said. Something that I do take from I love something that's really been hitting me within my sobriety lately is listening, not waiting to speak when someone's done, but listening to what the other person has to say, and that is so important, especially when it comes to other individuals in recovery. And so, because of that, there is, excuse me, some type of rhetoric. I don't know if you guys off the top of your head know who Dax Shepard is, but he,
sure.
yeah,
Yes, he's so
oh, he
cute.
is amazing, and he is so you can tell, like, even before I learned that he was within his sober journey, I was like, there's something that that dude is doing that other people around him are not quite doing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a different aura, and I finally he has, I think it's some type of podcast like Armchair Expert or something like that, but he said something to the effect of, my personal chemistry does not allow me to drink in a way of one and done. My chemistry will allow me to ruin your life and everyone else's around me as an encore. I will
Yeah,
never,
baby.
yeah. And
That's right.
yeah. And it goes into something
yeah.
as well that says, I will never claim to know anyone else's chemistry, but I know mine allows me a slippery slope into
Mhm.
alcoholism because I didn't
Mhm.
know my own chemistry for so long. So how could I claim to know someone else's, or what it feels like to live without alcoholism, when literally, on the other hand, someone who does not experience alcoholism, not saying that there aren't, their own individual demons and unique demons in place of that, because everyone has their struggles. But I said when we were recording our episode, when Em asked me kind of around the same question, I said, she said, well, what would you tell to someone who says, oh, alcoholism isn't real and it's all in your head? And I'm just like, well, I would say your privilege is showing and I would read a book. Like, and like, I didn't know what else to say, like, honestly, because
Yeah.
I have so much grace for people who do not struggle with alcoholism, because it's truly something I will never have. And jealous in the right ways, ego in the right ways, of like, there will be one day where I don't think about it ever, and then I'll look back and be like, wow, I haven't thought about that in forever. But the
Right.
same token is like, well, if someone doesn't understand it, and I respect them, then in turn, I deserve that respect because I know that I deal with it, and it's almost a badge of honor to say, hi, I'm an alcoholic, because someone in active addiction is not going to say, hi, I'm an alcoholic. At least most people, I'm not going to
Right.
generalize, but it's one of those things. Like, it struck a chord with me about what Dax Shepard said, because I didn't even know my own personal chemistry, which is why I'm an addict, or I'm a recovering addict, or I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have to be able to be okay with being around it, because that automatically is a judgment that I'm making off of my ego, being in a situation when someone else is drinking, when I don't know their chemistry and I never will. I'm just trying to get to know mine.
Mm.
So that's just what I
Mhm.
wanted to add, because I think it's a rhetoric that deserves to go both ways, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And Emily, you asked me that about just having one. I mean, remember in the previous session, my first thought was not about the first one, but about the ones that
Yeah.
followed that. So that is not. I wouldn't if my only choice was to drink one or none, then I would have none.
Yeah. That's understandable. Um, so I think that, it is really important to, remind people that me personally being someone who cannot identify as an alcoholic or even pretend to understand what the disease, as you like to call it, would consist of, or how that would feel. How do you feel like other alcoholics can help you in ways that your friends and family cannot?
Oh boy, our and I'm sorry to constantly push AA, but it is the only thing that worked for me. And because I did try drinking only after 5, I did try drinking only beer, I did try drinking only on the weekends, I did try drinking, I did try to set up all these rules for me. Um, and the most amazing thing about Alcoholics Anonymous, or even anybody in recovery, um, and and Skadi, you know this because we're the only two that really know what what we're going through,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that it's almost like we've been given this special gift because a, a non-alcoholic couldn't talk me into not drinking
Right.
because they don't have a clue
Right.
what it is that I've gone through. But another alcoholic talking to me, I believe you.
Yeah.
I see you um, thriving in life and not drinking and
It's inspiring.
forgiveness and restoration of relationships and all these magical things that are happening to you.
Yeah.
Will you tell me how you did that? Now, Emily, you don't have alcoholism. Don't tell me what you've got and how you got it because you didn't go through what I went through in order to get what I had to go through today. We just don't have the same, it'd be like somebody trying to tell somebody what childbirth is like and they've never gone through childbirth, but two
Yeah,
moms sure the fuck know what that's like, right?
Right.
And so, recovery really works with one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. And this is the special gift that we've been given is, we're the only ones that get to talk to each other this way. And so I really, truly feel like this is my purpose. This is my calling, is this alcoholic talking to another alcoholic. That's how I give back.
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
So I hope that that
absolutely.
answered the
Especially
question.
hearing you feeling like, all you've ever wanted was just to belong and to fit in somewhere. And yeah,
Yeah. Man, I've got an amazing group of people. I'm there. I don't, the only non-alcoholic friends that I
yeah,
have are the ones that I work with. And even that's a small group of people. But I anything that I do outside of work, I just do it with my AA people because I don't
right,
we have the most thing in common, and here's me, just this little old lady, and you know who I could talk to? A doctor or a judge, and they would get what I had to say. They would know exactly what it is. It doesn't have anything to do with stature or status or who you are in the community or anything like that. It has to do with nothing else but our drop
right.
you dead disease.
Addiction is not selective.
It isn't.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. And there are some that can cross that invisible line a lot quicker than others because we're predisposed to it. For some of us, it's genetic. For others, it's what about you don't even know what about if you and I don't know if this could happen or if this has been proven, but what if you were just a person who it didn't run in your family, but you just started drinking on a continuous basis, right?
Yeah.
And where is that invisible line?
Can I
And so that you can stop before you cross it.
right. Maybe I could somewhat give a theory on that because I have my master's in psychology. And that's actually how one of the ways that I leaned into sobriety so well is because I'm like, well, how did I get here? Um, and so it's something that I believe and have theories that addiction changes your DNA. It changes the cells in your body. It changes, mind, body, soul are all three different words, but they mean one
Hmm.
thing. And so if one's out of whack, they're all out of whack. And I feel like with that being said, if someone is like, let's say they're not predisposed. predispositioned for like substance abuse, but they are predispositioned for like crippling anxiety, or
Or obesity.
obesity. Correct. Yeah. And then it's one of those things where like, okay, so why do people drink in the first place or use substances? Well, it's to cope. I like to say that 10 out of 10 times why people find themselves within chronic substance abuse disorder is due to the fact that it is unresolved trauma. 12 out of 10 times it will be unresolved trauma. They are always concurrent. And I change my mind, you can't. It's just, even people who don't admit that they have trauma, they're like, oh no, I had a great childhood, or no, I had a great, marriage, whatever. Then they open up about it and you're like, bro, that's not great. Like, do you realize that's not great? And it's unprocessed trauma, because if you process the trauma, you don't have to run from anything anymore. And you can even traumatize
Right.
yourself from the chronic substance abuse. So in my mind, I feel that, okay, so whatever your predisposition to could get you to that point of chronic use of substances, and then it changes your DNA, and then you have kids.
Mm.
Like for instance, I was already predispositioned for addiction before I had kids. I was not predispositioned to specifically alcoholism, but definitely addiction. After I had my children, it's like it almost changed. Where now it's something I have to, my cells in my body have to replenish from so many years of, you know, use and whatever. So in my mind, there has to be some crossover like that, where someone somewhere ended up coping with this exact substance, changed their own, DNA and the way that their body works, and then ended up having children being predisposed to it because
Mm,
that's within their cells. But that's just kind of my little theory there, and like something that we could talk about forever and we won't. But there are so many different ways that substance abuse can sneak up on you, and some people don't even know that they have
yeah.
a predisposition if that's the case.
Well, I didn't start out thinking, "Oh, I'm going to drink every day now until I become an alcoholic." I did it. Drinking for me didn't start out like that. It was just a slow, gradual thing, and all of a sudden, I was an alcoholic, and I had to have it every day. And I mean, it happened for me pretty quickly, and I think as women, it happens much quicker for us than it does men. But I didn't think, and not drinking until I was 37. What happened for those 37 years? I didn't drink. And I really believe that alcoholics' brains look differently. I think that, we have alcoholics have holes in their, and I by far don't have any kind of degree like you do, or the words to be able to express what I'm trying to say. But I think that we have, our brain is made up of something, and then and it's solid, right?
Yeah.
And then we start to become alcoholics, and then our brains start to look like Swiss cheese. And so now things are not firing correctly in the right places, or we've got a misfire because it's gone through one of the Swiss cheese holes instead of where it should have gone. And
Right.
um, I also think that that's interesting that you say that. If we if that's true, what you said about we can go generationally until all of a sudden we have a generation of alcoholics, right? And
Mhm.
just in our family tree, right? Does that mean then also at the same time we could go multiple generations and not have alcoholics anymore in our family tree?
Right. And that's and I want to address what you said first. I believe that everyone can learn something from everyone. So just, I mean, the reason, to be honest with you, that I went and got my master's was because my job at the time was willing to pay for it and I needed to stay
Hmm.
sober. And so I committed to something that wasn't AA, and it was honestly getting my master's, because the thing about the brain is that no one will ever know 1,000% how it works, not even close. So everything is just a
Right.
theory. But it's really more so what is proven within those, research with the data and what have you. But I think you bring up a really good point, because it could skip generations. It can, and that's where the theories come in, is that we do know that there is a certain point. I mean, what happens if, I come from so much different types of culture, but more specifically, I mean, talking about like the Appalachians. You live up in the mountains, and all of a sudden you're making moonshine, and then that's not an alcoholic issue, that's a way of life. It's just so many different things that come in that could end up being predispositioned to have someone fail. I talk to my children about, I mean, my oldest is 9. I talk to her all the time, like, hey, do you know what alcoholism is, things like that. So I just, it's one of those things where you have your own choice how you can heal, but you also have your choice. um you know I'm not going to say that addiction is a choice, because it's not. There's so many predispositions, and you don't, like exactly what you said, you don't go into it thinking that you're going to get addicted. You go into it just wanting to feel better and just needing to do that. So that's just kind of,
Right.
what I think. I think there's so many different types of things that could lead to it, but I've also seen it skip generations. Like, for instance, my grandparents raised me. My grandfather, would drink anybody under the table, and still to this day hasn't drank very much, because my grandma's not an alcoholic, and she wanted him to stop. So he stopped for her and stayed sober for himself. But, just one of those types of things. But my mother is not an alcoholic. Are there addiction issues within that generation? Yes, but not alcoholism. And then, hi, I'm an alcoholic. So, it does bring up those, well, I've seen this, I've seen that, but really it just comes down to, are we checking on the people that we love? And are we making sure that what they go through is being heard and seen? Because if they don't feel heard and seen, they're going to try to cope and self-medicate, in my opinion.
Well, and what's always been said for decades is knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
So the more we know, the more we share. My grandkids know about alcoholism. My grandkids know that grandma used to drink way too much and now she can't. And my grandkids have never seen me drunk, and that wasn't because I didn't want them to see me drunk. It's because their parents were smart enough to not ever leave them in my care. But
Sure.
and I of course burn those bridges. But my grandkids have a generalization, a understanding of what alcoholism and addiction is. And it is with the media outlets that we have today, the opportunities to see, hear, and know about it are so much more than when I was a kid. Um, we didn't see. I grew up where you guys did. I mean, did you see alcoholics and addicts roaming the streets?
Well, Jess and I actually, I'm from Oregon, born and raised in Oregon, and I just kind of ended up here, and so did Jess. So for me, it's like, Jess texted me off air, and
So,
she was
sorry
just,
about that.
no, 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 that's fine. It's just like, when you said in the last episode, what you said about, like, it's so readily available. I didn't even think about that, because here you do have to go to the liquor store, or you're getting watered down beer. And, what are you
Right.
going to do when you're an alcoholic with watered down beer? You're going to have a 30 case, damn it. And,
Right.
even more if you need it. So, but I mean, I texted Jess, I was like, God damn, I didn't even think about that. Trying to be in recovery outside of this, God forbidden state. It's like, oh, well, if I wanted to get drunk, I could just go to the nearest Fred Meyer Safeway. Ain't no problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Well, I was in Oregon for like my high school life, and I didn't start drinking until my senior year, but it was so, well, I guess depending on like your friends and stuff, but it was easily
Yeah.
attainable if you knew the right
Sure. And
people up in
I can
Oregon.
say that since I've been in Washington, I see addictions so much more rampant out here. It was not something in Salt Lake that we grew up seeing on our street corners. Homelessness wasn't something that we saw on street corners. We knew that it was there, but it wasn't something that you ever gave a thought to. Now I live in a town where you see people walking up and down the street talking to themselves, or that are clearly are in active addiction, and so it just wasn't in my face. Um, Growing up in Salt Lake,
Yeah,
here,
absolutely.
here it's cool. It was cool to be. Um, if you were an alcoholic to be in this state because and then when I moved here, what my first job here was as a bartender, and I'd never done that before, and I worked at an Irish pub of for God's sakes, and so I discovered all sorts of things that we just it
Oi.
and we don't not even having those things in Salt Lake, even it's just different. And I
Yeah.
guess it's probably that way for everybody in every state or every country or wherever.
Really quickly, I was going to ask you something. Okay. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to also include, because I have been here in Salt Lake my entire life myself, and I feel like living here in Salt Lake and not being as aware of addiction here because partly due to the religious oppression, I feel like and how people here in this state definitely seem to hide their addictions because the appearance of being perfect is so important to the culture here in Utah, so everybody's usually hiding their addictions and nobody really knows what's going on. But and then at the same time, witnessing firsthand, not just you, my mother, but also other people a part of my family being victim of a disease such as alcoholism and other substances as well. I lost an aunt who was so dear to my heart because of substance abuse, and you know what, it is heartbreaking to see the people you love struggle with addiction for whatever, whether it's trying to mask the pain within your heart or physically trying to mask your body aches and pains. But you know mom, and I say this to you and I really do mean this from the bottom of my heart, I am just so proud of you. I for a very long time I had accepted that, I probably was not going to have you be a part of my life for a long time. And whether that was, having to not be a part of your life while you were in the course of being in your addiction, but also, having that worry in my heart that you would die from this horrible disease. And it was a really horrible realization for me. And feeling like I had to accept that that may be a strong possibility, and how am I going to deal with that? But also, I just want to say how incredible it has been to watch you grow into this person that you are today, and all of the people that you help within the community with AA, which I would love to hear a little bit about. You attend AA even today. What does that look like exactly?
So as far as like how many meetings do I go to, or what specifically are you asking about? Or like how involved am
Yeah,
I?
how involved are you in the community?
Okay, so we just had a big camp out this weekend, and this is where a whole bunch of us in recovery, depending on, we had 5 people there that had, we had 4 people there that had 5 months, all the way up to somebody who had 50 years and totaled over, with all of us there, we had a total of over 1,000 years of recovery. So that was a pretty amazing experience. So we do fun things like that. I will tell you, since COVID's hit, I have been lazy. I don't want to go out. I don't want to go do anything. There's been a lot of meetings that are on Zoom, but it's just not the same as being in person.
Yeah.
Um, but I needed this weekend was like a spiritual awakening for me, that I am not meant to keep this gift sitting at home. I am meant to get this gift out into the world, and not only just for other people, but so that I can experience all the things that God has in store for me. And so there are meetings that I go to. Now, when I was first in recovery, I went to 1 or 2 meetings every day. And then and then when that happens, now we're building relationships with people in AA, right? And I have a sponsor who I meet with. Um, and and then I sponsor people, and so I'm meeting with people. And so, really, we've got a recovery based walk of life. And I'm not going to say it's eat, breathe, recovery, because at a certain point, you're able to, like we talked about, I am not in fear of drinking anymore. But do I know that I could at any moment? You bet. I just know that I don't have to drink today. And so, I don't really want to hang out with people who don't have like-minded interests. So I will gladly go to a meeting so to hang out with my friends, because finally, for the first time in my life, without having to drink, I belong to people. These are my people.
Yeah,
And so I mean, we want to hang out with our friends, right? I mean, even at 50, I'm going to hang out with my friends.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's really what recovery looks for me right now, and then having, this awesome spiritual awakening this weekend, which is what I really wanted, so that I can continue to do what God's purpose is for me. And I believe that is sharing experience, strength, and hope to the still suffering alcoholic. And um, I am making a commitment, and I did that this weekend, a commitment to get off my ass and out of my house and to a meeting, and to try to be, not try, to be more involved in my recovery and in others.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You returning to meetings even while you feel like you don't have that thought lingering in the back of your mind is so important, because really those people who are still struggling do rely on you, and it's so incredible that you are a beacon of light for others who feel like, there isn't any hope. And so that is so amazing, and I am so proud of you. Again, I really am.
Oh, Emily, I'll tell you what, just the restoration of yours and my relationship through this process and through this program has been such a treat. Watching you grow into the young woman that you are and the mama that you are, and what a treasure it is when you call me with concerns and trials and tribulations, and how you and I go through the tools, that this program has given me to learn how to live life on life terms, and we can use those in absolutely um, every area of our life. And so that allows me to share that with you. And they really are sound concepts for us to really think about. And they do make a lot of sense. And so it has been my pleasure to be your mom, number one. Number two, to be the Grammy of those little beauties, and to get to be of service to you guys here this evening. And I just am so grateful that God gave you to me, Emily, and that your heart has been open and receptive to forgiveness, and allowing the restoration of our relationship to take place. And we wouldn't have this. For me, we would not have this without the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and for that I will forever be grateful.
That's really beautiful. So, speaking upon families, and I just have a couple more questions I want to ask you before we wrap this up. But and I've heard you talk about this really frequently, as I do lean on you for a lot of issues that I have experienced in my life, and I am so grateful for the wisdom that you have, because when you do bring to me the tools that you have learned from AA, I am always blown away, and I think it's so beautiful. So I hear about this other program, and it's for the families, AlAnon. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
So, Al Anon is a program for friends and family who have friends and family. Okay, so let me start over. So, it is for people who have friends and or family members who suffer from alcoholism, whether untreated or not. And I just discovered I am an Al Anon also myself. It does discuss a lot of codependency, which I didn't think I have, because I've been a really independent person my whole life. And, it's amazing. One of the sayings in AA is more will be revealed, as God sees fit to reveal these things to me. Um, more is revealed and I think as I grow in my recovery and my knowledge and, just when God thinks that I'm ready for it. And so just within the last, probably year, I've have heard bits and pieces here and there about little things that might resonate with me in regards to codependency. And it's funny, but it's like I'll be at a speaker meeting and I'll listen to somebody telling their story, and it will be just the one thing, and I've heard it a million times, but I heard it said this one way by this specific person just at the right time I needed to hear it. And that's how it worked with AlAnon for me. So I've just started my journey into AlAnon, and I'm excited. I can't really share tons about it because it's still very new to me, but it is a 12-step program on how we don't have to live according to somebody else's plans for us.
Yeah.
Um, we can learn how to not be so dependent upon. And I think I can relate the most to it in relationships because I would do anything for a dude.
Yeah.
Just just love me, and I will do anything for you. Don't leave me. I will do anything for you. And so that is really resonating with me right now. And as I go through it, it's uncovering a lot of things. Um, in my childhood. So I'm excited to see where God has to take me through that 12-step program. And the coolest thing about it is a lot of us alcoholics are Al-Anoners as well. And a lot of the people that are in Al-Anon are the spouses of the people in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I've already hung out with all of these people, and it's not new, and they're not new people for me. It's just a different set of tools or a different way of saying the same set of tools. And it is just it's learning how to uncover, discover, and discard things that
No
would
longer
keep
serve
us
you.
from being our, yeah, 100% of who God intends for me
Yeah.
to be.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. And that it's amazing to see how we never stop growing as people and how we can always learn something new. And I love the saying that the person who says that they know everything really knows nothing. And it's true because the minute that we stop doing the things that we need to do to improve our mind, body, soul, like Scotty said, I mean, is we are dead at that point. And so no matter what, our whole journey in life is to continually find all of those tools and having those conversations and hearing the same thing over and over again, sometimes just in that right moment, in that right space, in the right way that that person had said it, that it finally resonates with you. And the message, like you said, sometimes God has a message to convey to you, but not right now. He will give that
Right.
message to you when he feels like it will benefit you the most, and he knows you source, the whole creation of what those who believe that really God is, will enlighten you in the perfect moment. um so one final question before we close out this last episode about your recovery. If people, our listeners, if they have a loved one that they suspect may be a victim of alcoholism, what kind of advice would you have for those people who are wanting to help their friends or family?
Well, firstly, there isn't anything that you can do to help them, um, but you also don't have to put up with it. And really, your only concern is in regards to your own self. And we let God work on them, our alcoholics. We let God work on them in God's time. And we take care of ourselves. We keep our side of the street clean, and we continue to put our foot one in front of the other, one in front of the other, and do the next right thing. And so, you couldn't tell me to quit drinking one day before I did, and there just isn't anything that you can do. You know, if you're in an abusive relationship, um, my encouragement would be for you to be in a safe place, um, and to really seek some help. You know, because Al-Anons are no different than alcoholics. We're all fucking sick. There's a reason why we put up with the shit that we put up, whether we're alcoholics or we are codependent people. So I would just encourage you to seek out a meeting or seek out some literature from Al-Anon or from AA, and see if anything in there that you read resonates with you.
Thank you so much. Beautifully said. Well, thank you again so much for sharing your story. It has been so enlightening. We will include in our show notes any resources for Alcoholics Anonymous, Al Anon, and other resources for recovery. If you are um, an alcoholic or an addict, please follow those resources if you would like to try to find sobriety. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Barb. I just want to let you know that I just met you tonight and I've already fallen in love with you.
Oh, I'm obsessed with you, Miss Barb.
I'm crazy about you ladies.
Oh, thank you.
And also,
Um,
I want to say I'm so sorry just before we wrap it. Thank you for sharing your story. Like, just I know that that's been said a million times, but I
yeah.
truly, I mean, we all mean it. But yes, I mean, there's nothing more validating within your own healing journey than listening to another person's journey and the inspiration from that. So I truly appreciate it, and I'm very humbled by this experience. So thank you again.
Thank you. It has been a privilege. It's been my honor and my privilege. Thank you for asking me.
We look forward to having you back, Barb.
Yes. And you've
It's named Mom.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Ooh, get
and
checked. Ha. Ha.
you've motivated me. If you want to follow us on our socials and keep up with us outside of the studio, feel free to check out the links in the show notes. And if any topics discussed during our time with you today have given you the need to reach out for assistance, know that there are many people in this world who would love to help you with exactly what you need. With that being said, please see our show notes for any resources to aid in the assistance of your healing journey thus far, if it calls to you, of course. You matter, you are important, and we believe in you. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave a review, share with anyone that you think would enjoy our show. We would love that. Please, please, please send in to us at disruptcrew@skadi.com any anonymous, or if you want to be anonymous, stories or dedications, motivations, anything that you would like to let us know and read. Please send that in. Thanks again for listening. Be safe and stay tuned for Disrupt's newest episode of Bunk. We'll meet right back here before you know it. We love you.
We love
Bye.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Toodaloo.